everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Darian and today we're going to be reacting to the best and worst books I have ever read according to Goodreads. So I've seen this video going around for the past few months, and basically what people are doing is they're going on Goodreads and shelving their read list in order of the ratings, so seeing which are the highest rated and lowest rated books that they've ever read. And I was looking for a easy video to film today because my brain just doesn't have it in me to do anything anything difficult, so I thought this would be fun to do, to see what Goodreads thinks is the best and worst books I've ever read. I have a feeling none of my favorite books are gonna be like the highest rated books, just because. So yeah, I thought, what's easier than just sitting and looking at my phone? So we're gonna react to it together. We're gonna see what happens. So I'm gonna start with the highest rated books, and I do have some predictions. I'll probably look at around maybe 10, like the 10 highest. I think Way of Kings will definitely be there. I also think like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo will probably be there. Heartstopper will probably be there. Maybe Percy Jackson. What else have I even read? I don't know. Maybe like City of Bones. I don't know. We'll see. I think like the very popular like first books of series are gonna be there. So those are my predictions. So let's just go and see. Let me open Goodreads. My books. We're having fun already. Okay, yeah. Okay, so wow. The one at the very top is Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman and has an average rating of 4.68, which is very high. How many ratings does it have? Because it is a fairly new release. I mean, it came out in the UK around a year ago and it came out in the US in December, I think, or January, so only a few months ago. Oh wow, it already has 159,000. That's not surprising. Also, I feel like later books in series are probably going to be higher rated because the people who are reading the later books in series, you know, they already know that they like the series, if that makes sense. So that definitely makes sense. But Heartstopper Volume 4, I think that is my favorite volume of Heartstopper so far. It's just so well done. The way, if you don't know, if you're new here, hi, I'm Darian. I'm obsessed with Heartstopper. But Heartstopper is a graphic novel series following these two boys, Nick and Charlie, and it just follows their romance and them discovering their sexualities. And there's also a lot of other characters that are queer, and they have this amazing friendship group. And it also discusses heavier topics like eating disorders and self-harm, so trigger warnings for that. But the way that Alice Oseman handles mental health in the series is just so amazing, and it just resonates with me a whole lot. And obviously I'm obsessed with the TV show that just came out. Season 1 just came out like a little over a month ago, and it's one of my favorite shows ever, and I've watched it. I stopped counting, but I think it's at least 20 times now. I have a reaction if you want to go watch that. But yeah, I love Heartstopper, so I definitely agree with this. And number 2 is Heartstopper Volume 3. So makes sense. But number 3, the third highest rated book that I've read, is The Way of Kings, which I had a feeling. Way of Kings is the first book in the Stormlight Archive series. It is this epic fantasy series. It has 4 books out so far. I think there's supposed to be, I don't know why I have the number 7 or 10 in my head. But I think either of those, and they're like 1,000 pages long each. I've only read the first book so far, but I do agree. I mean, I gave the book 4 stars. It is pretty good, and I'm not surprised. And it, like, let me see. It has a 4.64 average rating with 381,000 ratings. So that's pretty darn good. And if you like epic high fantasy, I would definitely recommend it. I feel like it's a staple now in the genre. And also, like, if it intimidates you, it really isn't that scary once you start it. So I'd recommend it. I don't know. Then number 4 is Heartstopper Volume 2. So, you know. Oh, then we have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna with an average rating of 4.59. And I probably should have seen this coming because The Nightingale is a booktube darling. Everyone seems to be obsessed with this book, and I mean, I really loved it as well. I gave it 4.5 stars. We read it for the Winers last year, and that was a book for sure. It is definitely sad at times. It follows these two sisters going through World War II. I mean, it's really beautiful. Kristen Hanna's writing is just so good. Like, there's a reason her books are so popular. It's because she's an amazing writer. So I do agree with this one also. Next, we have Heartstopper Volume 1. We've been new. Then, oh, this is surprising. But how many ratings does this have? Oh, already. Okay, so the next book to show up is House of Sky and Breath, which, I mean, again, it is a sequel, so I guess that does make sense. But I know a lot of people didn't love this as much as the first one, so it surprises me that this is higher rated than the first book. But it has an average rating of 4.54 with 106,000 ratings. Damn. I gave House of Sky and Breath 3.5 stars because the majority of the book I found kind of boring and slow. Like, I enjoyed being back in this world, but I don't know, it just didn't live up to the first book for me. But that ending, obviously, everyone, if you know, you know, the ending is just... it's just crazy. And I still can't believe, like, I thought maybe like a month after the book came out I would be seeing people talking and spoiling the ending like all over the internet. I know a lot of people were spoiled for it, but I personally have never seen anybody spoil the ending. I've never seen anyone talk about it on Twitter, and I've never seen anyone talk about it like in a video unless they gave a spoiler warning. So I'm very impressed by that. So good job, everyone. Yeah, House of Sky and Breath, Sarah J Maas's first adult fantasy series. It's the sequel to House of Earth and Blood, and the first book was a bit better in my opinion. Oh, okay. I should have thought of this too. The next one is Tea Dragon Tapestry, which is the third book in the Tea Dragon Society series. Oh, I love that book so much. So that one has a 4.53 average rating, and I think that one also, it's hard. Either the third one or the second one is my favorite in the series, but it's a graphic novel series following these tea dragons, and when you make tea from their leaves that grow on their antlers, then you get to see their memories, and it's just such a wonderful little series. The art style is just so beautiful and cute, and the tea dragons are so cute. I have one right here. Where is she? There's Chamomile. Love her, and it has great like queer representation also, and characters with disabilities. It is just such a great series, so check that out if you haven't. If you're looking for like a nice cozy time, I mean, it does deal with like difficult topics, like especially the third one deals with grief a lot, but overall it's just it'll make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So you gotta read it. So I definitely agree with this one. Oh, okay. I should have thought of this one. The next one is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas with an average rating of 4.5. I do love this book. I definitely agree with this. The Hate U Give. I mean, I feel like everyone knows what this book is now because it is so popular on BookTube and it's been around for a while, but it follows this young black girl who witnesses the murder of her best friend. He was killed by a cop, and it kind of starts this whole chain reaction of her wanting to get justice for her friend and realizing like how prevalent racism is, not only in her community but all across America and the world. And it is such a well-written book. Like, there's a reason this book is so hyped because it definitely deserves it. So definitely agree with this one. Okay, next is another Brandon Sanderson. I should have assumed we'd see a lot of him in this list, but Skyward by Brandon Sanderson has an average rating of 4.5, so the same as The Hate U Give. This is, I think, his only sci-fi series, and it follows a girl named Spensa who wants to be a pilot, but her father, who was also a pilot, he fled in a very important battle, and she has always been deemed as the coward's daughter, but she's gonna do what she's gotta do. So that's basically that. I gave it 4.5 stars. I definitely liked it a lot, but I don't think I liked it as much as everyone else did, but like 4.5 stars is still a great rating. How many have I looked at so far? Oh, I've already looked at 10, but 4 of those were Heartstopper, so I'll look at a few more. Okay, next, so true, is Becoming by Michelle Obama with an average rating of 4.49, so very close to the other two. This I wholeheartedly agree with. I love this memoir so much. It is, if you don't know, it is Michelle Obama's memoir, and it's just so well written. And I remember like starting this book and then I just never wanted to put it down. Her life is just so interesting, and she's just such an interesting person to listen to. And I did read this physically, but I've heard the audiobook is great because she narrates it herself. So I'm definitely interested in picking that up one day to reread it and listen to it. But yeah, if you haven't picked this one up, highly recommend. Okay, we'll look at two more. So the next one is White Rage, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide by Carol Anderson. And this is a book about specifically racism in America, and it mostly focuses on systemic racism. And this is definitely a very well written book. I remember having a bit of trouble with it when I read it because it is very dense, and it is a book that I want to go back to one day because I definitely don't remember everything that was in the book. So I definitely need to go back and reread it and maybe listen to it too. I think might help me remember everything. But the writing is very dense, but I think it is a very important book, and like the way that it's organized is just so well done, and like Carol Anderson really like lays the facts down for you. So it's definitely a book I appreciated a lot. Like I said, I'd like to go back to it one day. Let's do one more. Yeah, there it is. House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. Average rating of 4.48. There you go. I already said my piece on that series. I like the first book a lot more than the second one, but oh, and right below that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I thought would be higher, but 4.48, also tied with House of Earth and Blood. That makes sense. I mean, for me, I know it's an unpopular opinion. I don't love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think it's a bit overhyped, but I appreciate everyone loves it so much, so there you go. So those are the highest rated books apparently that I've read. I agree with most of this. I agree with Heartstopper. I agree with Tea Dragon Tapestry, The Nightingale. So yeah, I agree with most of this, obviously. So let's see the lowest rated books that I read. Now, predictions, I have a feeling I'm gonna see Catherine House, and I have a feeling I'm gonna see Leave the World Behind, which are two of my favorite books that I've read this year. I gave them both 5 stars. But I know they're not for everyone, so I am preparing myself, but I don't know what else I would see. Yep, Catherine House. Catherine House is at the bottom with an average rating of 3.12. That is so low. 3.12. How can people hate this book so much? Like, I definitely understand why people didn't like it, because basically this book, it follows this girl named Inez who is accepted at this school called Catherine House, and this school is very different from other schools. Basically, once you're at Catherine House, you don't leave for the 3 years that you're there, and you're completely closed off from the outside world. You're not allowed your phones, you're not allowed to contact your family or friends from back home. You just are expected to focus on your studies and interact with the people at Catherine House, and then things just get weird, and it's great. And I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars. So I understand why some people don't love it, especially because like nothing ever really gets resolved in this book. Like, things happen and then the book ends, and I understand why people don't like that. 3.12 is so low. Like, what are y'all doing? And then the second lowest rated book is Leaving Isn't the Hardest Thing by Lauren Huff. I'm just gonna leave that there. I haven't actually read this book, by the way, but I did mark it as read for reasons. If you know, you know. And we're just gonna move on. So the one below that is Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam with an average rating of 3.21. Again, how can people hate this book so much? So this book, it's very similar to Catherine House in that like things don't really get resolved, especially in Leave the World Behind. You're following this family who rent out this like cabin, kind of like a lake house, for a vacation, and then the owners of this cabin show up and they're like, hey, something weird is going on. The whole East Coast had lost power and we were scared, so we came here. Is it okay if we stay here? And the family is like, do we trust this people? Are they really who they say they are? Blah, blah, blah. And then there's like, throughout the whole book, I mean, it's a very short book, but weird things are happening and you don't know what, and then you never really find out what is happening. So I understand, again, why some people wouldn't like that you never really get answers, but I loved it, and the writing was just so beautiful in my opinion, so I'm upset at all of you. The one below that is What We Devour by Lindsay Miller. That has an average rating of 3.38, and I kind of agree with this one. I gave this book a 3 stars. I read it last summer, and I had such a hard time with this book because I never really understood what was going on. Like, I can't even really explain to you what it's about, because I found it just kind of confusing. I remember there's a girl and she has like 2 different types of powers, but I don't remember what they are. And I remember the magic system in this book has to do with basically hurting yourself. So major trigger warnings for self-harm in this book. And I don't know. I didn't love it. I don't think it's a bad book by any means. And the main character is asexual, so obviously we'd love to see that. But yeah, I kind of do agree with this one. I didn't love it. And then the one below that is That Summer by Sarah Dessen, which has an average rating of 3.47. So this makes sense to me because I don't think that's one of her more popular books. In fact, I think it's one of the first books she ever wrote in like the 90s. And I read this on a whim one day a few years ago, and it was very fine. I don't think it's bad. I mean, I don't know if I read it now if I would agree with that, but it's just a Sarah Dessen book, you know? Oh, below that, okay, this does make sense to me also. Moonstruck Volume 2 by Grace Ellis, and that has an average rating of 3.48, and I gave it 3.5 stars, so I definitely agree with that. That is the second volume in a graphic novel series called Moonstruck, and it's basically about, I think the 2 main characters, one of them's a werewolf, and I don't remember if the other one is human or another type of creature, but it is sapphic, so that's nice, but I don't know. It's just nothing special in my opinion. The art style is very cute, I will say that. But yeah, I don't know. I read the first 2 volumes. I don't know if I'll ever read the 3rd, but I barely even remember what happens at this point. So, okay, then we have Someday Someday Maybe by Lauren Graham. So obviously Lauren Graham is in Gilmore Girls and Parenthood. I love both of those shows. Well, Gilmore Girls, I am slowly rewatching it now, and I don't think I love it as much as I used to. I think the first few seasons are like top tier cozy content, and then it just gets worse because Lorelai and Rory just get so annoying. Especially Rory. But anyways, I love Lauren Graham and I love Parenthood, and I wanted to read her book. She wrote a novel. I think it's the only novel she's written, because she has written a few nonfiction books, but I did want to read that, and again, it was very fine. I do remember it's about a girl who wants to be an actress and she moves to New York, and that's all I remember, and I thought it was fine, so this makes sense to me. Next, oh no, this breaks my heart. The next one is When Night Breaks by Janella Angelis, which is the 2nd book in the Kingdom of Cards duology, and obviously you can see them here. Where Dreams Descend is one of my favorite books ever. I love that book so much. The sequel is not as good as the first one in my opinion, but I still really loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I'm upset. It has an average rating of 3.52. I mean, the first book, you're following this girl who is a magician, and she's basically trying to prove herself in a world where people do not see women as being like valid magicians, and she's just, yeah, trying to prove herself, and there's a very sweet romance, and I love the first book so much, so this makes me so sad that When Night Breaks is rated so low. I liked it. So there. Okay, this one makes sense, but this probably doesn't have a lot of ratings. Yeah, this book only has 864 ratings, but the book is Crushing It by Lorelai Parker, and this is the first arc I ever read, and I read it I guess like 2 years ago now. Wow. And it's just not good. I can't remember like the details of why this book was so weird. Let me read my review for it. Yeah, I said the characters were all immature, they act like they were in high school. I do kind of remember that. From what I remember, it's about a girl who is practicing her public speaking skills because she wants to be able to give this like big speech for her company, but she's afraid of public speaking. So to practice, she enters this like competition at this bar where you read embarrassing stories from your life, and then every week like people vote on who moves on to the next round or whatever, and then the winner gets like money, I think, or something. So she enters this contest, and then this guy that she went to high school with, that she was like in love with, is also doing the contest, but then there's also like a romance with the bartender of the bar. I don't know. I do kind of remember it. Ooh, I keep kicking this. I definitely agree. I don't think it should be rated higher than When Night Breaks. That's for sure, but okay, I'll do a few more. So next, very surprisingly to me, is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. I thought everyone loved that book, so that's surprising, but it has an average rating of 3.55, which is definitely lower than I would have expected. But this is a thriller about the gentrification of this neighborhood in New York, I think, and then you find out some really weird stuff is going on, and I liked it. I thought it was okay. I don't know. I didn't love this book, and the ending like kind of ruined it for me a bit, so I kind of agree with this. Oh my god. Okay, the one below that, which honestly should be at the very bottom, is Conviction by Denise Mina. One of the worst books I've ever read. This book is so awful. Like, this should be the lowest rated book I've read. This book is so bad. I can't even explain what this book is about because it makes absolutely no sense, but it is a like mystery thriller, except it's really not thrilling. And we read this for the Whiners a while ago, and all of us gave it 1 star. It is just so awful, and this inspired the famous whole Mackenzie Lee thing that happened during our live show, which is really funny. But yeah, definitely agree with this one. That book should be rated 0 or 1, I guess, because that's the lowest you can give, but yeah, so I definitely agree with that. Okay, let's look at one more. The one below that, let's see. Oh, interesting. So the last one I'll look at is Top Girls by Carol Churchill, and this is a play that I had to read for school. So I doubt many of you have read it, to be honest. It has 8,000 ratings, so it has like a decent-ish amount of ratings, but it's a play from the 80s, I think, and it's basically about like women in the workplace, and I thought it was fine. So I kind of agree with this. So there we go. Those are the highest and lowest rated books that I've ever read according to Goodreads, and I have to say a lot of these I do agree with, although I am offended by When Night Breaks being rated so low. I didn't expect to see that on this list. I mean, I have a feeling there's not that many ratings. I didn't check. Let's see. Yeah, it only has 1,400 ratings, so that kind of makes sense why it's rated so low, but I'm disappointed, y'all. I love that book. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with what Goodreads says. And like I suspected, in my highest rated, I didn't see any of my favorite books. But in my lowest rated, I did see some of my least favorite books, but I didn't see Where'd You Go Bernadette anywhere. So where the heck was that? At least it wasn't in the highest rated. Then I don't know what I would have done. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Just a quick fun little video. A child is crying outside. That's what I feel like doing to child. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Bye!